an hour before the grand opening party, there was not one piece of product.
Are you ready? All right, let's go.
Manufacturing is sexy. Sounds crazy? Just wait. I'm Z Holly, host of The Art of Manufacturing. Your behind-the-scenes look at how people who make stuff are trying to make it in their industries. If you've ever wondered how to build a brand, a business, or just a better mousetrap, tune in and enjoy. Last week, Yvka Adam told us a story about leaving her startup for 9 days to go hike Kilimanjaro. This week, we speak with another entrepreneur whose whole career has been a bit of a journey learning to let go. Bethany Shorb is the founder of Cyberoptix. Her fashionable and subversive ties have been a cult favorite for retired Apollo astronauts, comedian Chris Hardwick, and Talking Heads frontman David Byrne. And she just launched a retail store in Detroit called Well Done Goods. I was curious about the challenges of expanding into retail and what she's learning now that she's on the other side of the table. It turns out that ceilings caving in and cash flow and inventory aren't the hardest problem of scaling a business. Sometimes, just letting go is the hardest part. And she has a few tips to share for growing brands and aspiring artisans. We hear about that and a whole lot more on this week's episode of The Art of Manufacturing.
Our motto is we make ties that don't suck. And ties aren't usually the most interesting fashion object, and novelty ties are usually designed a little loud and maybe not the most artful. And this is like the first time that these old NASA dudes got a tie that depicted space, and they liked it. So they just kept requesting more and requesting more. And pretty much there are shuttle astronauts, Apollo, pretty much anyone that's left the planet has one of these now. And I'm like, that's all right.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, and I mean, we're nerds. We're a bunch of nerds.
Let's take a step back. Tell me about your company, Cyberoptix.
We're a print shop. We don't do much in the way of cut and sew, but we print on things that are typically not printed on. Our bread and butter is ties, bow ties, pocket squares, scarves, neckwear, pocket wear too. It's just those are. I swore over and over and over I'm never going to print a t-shirt or a hoodie because there's enough of those out there. When I'm a little bit of a liar there, because just this past year we expanded our product line and now we're printing shirts and hoodies. So eating a little bit of crow, but I figured after a decade of printing exclusively on the same 4 things, all right, fine. There are, even though I don't agree with this, there are some people that don't wear ties. So
you think everyone should wear ties?
I think they should. But everyone needs to. We do a lot of weddings, a lot of funerals.
Oh wow!
Wedding, funerals, court dates. You're gonna have
court dates.
Well, people get kind of cheeky with that too. We have a design with tumbling pigs, and it looks like a little pig polka dot. And if some
polka dot,
we call it polka dot. And I have heard of a few people who have had a little trouble with the law, and they wear the piggy tie.
Oh my God. What are your other favorite designs?
I like the ones that we call subverted patterns. And so it looks like a normal tie pattern, like a paisley, but there's something a little wrong in the pattern. So we have one called Plaguesley. It's the Yersinia pestis, which is the Black Plague, little bacteria virus guy. Sorry, I just messed up on the science there. But yeah, so that little guy is in the Plaguesley, or in the paisley, having a little fun. And yeah, so we love bad puns, and we love science, and we like interjecting these fun little bits that normally aren't in traditional necktie patterns. We also, one of our best-selling designs, we've been making for years, and we keep things in the catalog for a long time. I don't work on a seasonal model. I mean, we're always introducing new things, and if something just flops after a while, we'll just kind of cull it. But, we have over 450 designs, and, we keep all those screens on file. I could have an entire warehouse of screens. It's getting, super out of control. From a business standpoint, I should probably do the whole limited edition thing, but from a, I don't want to deny anyone the design that, they've wanted forever. I'll print it for you. It's all right.
Nice that you have fans that would want that kind of thing.
It makes me feel good. But
yeah.
So we have this beer design, which is hops, wheat, and barley. So, the whole craft beer scene loves it. And it just, it's a beautiful, vintagey looking, 1700s, 1800s botanical drawing. So you can like still have your affinity, your love for beer, but not have like, a gaudy, tacky beer tie. So.
Well, it's definitely evergreen for people who care about that sort of thing. That's cool. So you're not your typical screen printer. You would tell me a little bit more about how you're unique.
So we are exclusively a water-based only shop. And for the kind of volume that we do, that's horrifically impractical. But we feel like it's our duty as printers and as a business owner for me not to expose my help. We've got some really awesome people that help me make these things. And, I don't want them exposed to all these chemicals. Traditionally, the screen printing industry is like pretty nasty for you. We don't use any plastisol inks, any solvents. We burn all our own screens. We do everything in-house. So, we have to limit exposure of things that aren't so good for you. So we are a water-based shop, and you can't, when people think of screen printing, it's just this long serial process of, you'll do 50 of the same thing, but we can only do a couple prints at the same time, or at one time rather. So that allows us to, if you want some crazy color combination, if you want chartreuse on orange for $5 more, yeah, you can have chartreuse. You can have our design in chartreuse on orange, and we're not going to judge. So we will guide, perhaps, like you might want to like consider how that looks. But
when was the last time you had to do that?
Oh, actually daily. But what's in your mind's eye and what is reality sometimes aren't entirely congruent. So, we just, as a designer, I might recommend something,
I love that, actually. It always bugs me when an expert is not willing to give me their opinion. Or even you go to a restaurant and you want advice on what would go well with this other dish. And like, oh, everything's great.
Like, no, everything's not great. Like,
be honest.
We don't want to judge from a stylistic standpoint, but from a technical standpoint, if one color just won't show up well on another, or a certain color ink won't perform well on a certain color fabric, that's when, hey, we've done this before, it's not going to look cute. So let's try something else. But we want people to see for themselves. So we offer a swatching service. We actually take that batch of ink on that fabric and say, okay, here's a little sneak preview of what this is going to look like, a little reality check.
That takes a lot of effort on your part.
Yeah.
Yeah?
For individual orders, I mean, you do have to pay, but it's a nominal fee to pay for the swatching service, just, like $5 for one. But if it's for a wedding party, it's vital. It really is, because when you're ordering 9 of the same thing and it's not to your expectations, like, you don't want to be looking at those in your photos for the rest of your life. And I don't want to be on the wrong end of that. Like, well, they look terrible. Like, well, you picked orange on chartreuse. I don't know. So, we like to do a handhold a little bit. And I think that's important with internet sales. I mean, we've been primarily online for over a decade. And, the internet can be really impersonal and anonymous. And, we like to offer boutique service, even though, we might be on the other side of the world from you.
You do a lot of custom mixing of colors. You do a lot of custom work then for people.
Yeah, we do. I mean, even we're very custom within our own shop. The kind of printing that we do, I mean, the inks that we need to do these we print on a lot of dark fabrics. Now, water-based printing ink generally doesn't work very well on dark fabrics. We've developed a process to make those inks perform better on dark fabrics. So we're actually blending and mixing all of our own pigments. So we have over 100 printing ink colors that we hand mix and match in-house. And then if that's not enough, which I'm not really sure how that's possible, we can still mix up another batch that will match your exact thing.
So how do you scale that operation? Because you're doing things on a very custom, very boutique basis. How does that scale?
Well, my husband's an engineer, and it makes his head hurt. I remember the first time he saw my studio, and like just from a process control standpoint, he was just like, I mean, he was itching, So I come at this from a fine art background, and to be honest, I wasn't concerned with scaling, and that's been one of our bigger challenges. For the first time in 11 years, I taught someone else how to make ink. So I've been making. It has to be like dumpsterfuls of ink, that I've hand mixed over a decade. So I have a little bit of a control freak, and that's something after a decade of doing this, where I've had to start to download absolutely everything that's in my brain and teach my staff how to do it. And a lot of it's my fault because I've had people asking, I can do this. I'm like, no, I got it. And then now with my travel schedule being a lot more, it's forced me to relinquish a little bit of that control. And I think it's better for everyone's sanity.
How do you get over that, being a control freak? Because I think a lot of people who are artists, artisans, we all, entrepreneurs.
I'm not. I was forced because my work demands that, I'm a brand ambassador. Like I have to talk about these things, and it takes me out of Detroit. And if there's no one else to do it, I mean, it was because I had no other choice. The ink's not mixing itself. So no, and I could have let go of it a lot earlier. But that's been a goal of mine. Like this whole 10-year anniversary thing that we had last year, I've just really started to re-examine how we're doing things and, okay, well, what's not working and what do I really need to still do myself and how can I better serve my company and it's all of its interests by not doing a lot of these things anymore. So I actually did have a consultant come in and she's like, okay, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I do everything. She's like, no, shut up. What do you do? And then she's like looking at the very rote things that I'm spending a lot of my time on. And, she's like, you're not doing this anymore. She's like, there's other people that can do this. I'm like, no, they can't. And she's like, stop it.
Yeah, part of it is like, where can you add the most value?
Yeah. So, because she's like, you're screwing over yourself and your company and your growth by doing all of these things that can very easily be taught. Just because you had one bad experience of it maybe not going so well, try again.
Why? What was that experience?
Well, I had hired someone I did all the photography and all of the photo editing. And we're talking like white background knockout. Like it's not really rocket science, but I have a hard time calling myself, CEO. It's a vanity title, but we do have over 20 employees now and I have a lot of things to manage and I'm still doing 6 hours a day of white background knockouts.
No.
She's like, stop it. And I'm like, but it has to be. She's like, no.
And you had a bad experience for
Well, it looked like this thing was floating in space and there was pixel artifacting and I'm just like, okay, well, no one can do it. Like, no, that one guy just couldn't do it.
Well, and it's not like you're only doing ties now too. So now you have a retail store.
Yeah, the whole, like, I swore I'd never print, T-shirts or hoodies. Well, so having a tie store and a, weird little niche corner of the internet is kind of fantastic. Having a weird little tie store in downtown Detroit that, sells ties with Black Plague and circuit boards, like I might need to diversify a little bit. So we're a screen printing shop and we can basically anything you can put ink on, we can put ink on. So like, I might want to put ink on a couple other things. Mm-hmm. So, we do pillows, aprons, art prints, anything you can put ink on, we're doing it. And we also do dye sublimation now, which is the more modern version of printing. Now, it's never going to take away from the screen printing, but it's a way to customize very quickly and give people a personalized product, something of their own design, where it's just not viable via screen printing because the setup takes too much cost and too much time. I
had an emergency where I needed a T-shirt really badly, and I learned about dye sublimation printing, and one of my friends downtown. I mean, if you could make anything,
it's fun. It's LA ridiculous. Right? Like you can get artful with them, but you can also get really stupid, and it's fun.
Well, it's true. I don't know. Well, I called up. I was like, I need a shirt, but it needs to be a very specific material. Mm-hmm. Like, where am I going to get this T-shirt? I'm calling everywhere. I'm like, oh my god! I interviewed Dove Charney on an earlier episode from American Apparel. Yep. He's starting his own company. I'm like, Dove, I need a T-shirt. Where do I get one? He's like, come on down to my factory. And so I went down and he gave me a couple. Just here, go for it. And I had myself a T-shirt within 3 hours. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. So the sublimation process is very different because it's a fiber reactive process. So you have to have a certain exact fiber content, and otherwise the process won't work.
Yeah. So tell me more. So it's a polyester, right?
Yeah, it has to be done on 100% poly. Now you can. There's a couple ways around it. So what this ink does is it turns in with heat and pressure. It turns into a vapor, and that vapor reacts with the polyester, and it merges and it's totally permanent. It's light fast and it's kind of amazing. It's totally magic science.
And it's full color.
Full color.
And it's
or you can do like if you have another color of polyester, and this is where it works so well with our existing necktie, bow tie, and pocket square fabric stock, because faux silk microfiber, it's polyester, and now it's not your 70s icky polyester. You can't really tell the difference between silk, and it's vegan, which is important to a lot of people.
That's interesting.
So if you hear of vegan silk, that's polyester, yo. Like that's what it is, but it's not icky,
right?
And
you know what I want? Okay, talking polyester, I want to have dye sublimated bell-bottom pants.
You totally could.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about that afterwards.
Yeah, we can make it work.
We'll get that going.
But you can print black ink or any dark ink on a lighter colored poly. So it doesn't have to be a full color kittens and space and lasers. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because that's really cool.
No, absolutely not.
But, you can print really simply and elegantly too.
Oh, really cool. Really cool.
But we do really like kittens and lasers.
So about the things that you're selling in your store, how much of that is something that you've already pre-made? How much of that is custom? Is it sort of a front for your custom work?
It's a hybrid of all of it. So we just opened the store on November 4th. And, we're in the proverbial throwing spaghetti at the wall stage, which is we're seeing what works. And it's definitely a showroom for our custom work. It's a showroom where brides and grooms and brides and whoever wants to come in and see, like, well, what's this going to look like? Well, here's your fabric swatches. And people can try on and be like, well, I don't know if I want the skinny tie, the medium tie, the fat tie. People can try it on. So really fun to have a dressing room. And it's our flagship retail store, but we've started curating in other designers and makers and artist products. So I'd say right now it's probably 75% stuff that we make in-house, and then 25% other friends that, make good friends with the products that are there. I love bags and backpacks and messenger bags, and that's one thing that we don't make in-house yet. So we have lots of really cool bag friends. And but yeah, we've so expanded our product line, and that's been, just as a designer, that's been really refreshing to do, because as much as I love the ties and scarves, if you've only printed on ties and scarves for 10 years, it's like, man, I kind of want to print on something else. So it was so fun to make that first pillow.
That's actually a great idea.
It's a different shape, And if you've been working on this narrow, skinny tie runway for a decade, it's so fun to print a shirt.
Huge landscape.
So I've just, it's creatively this past year with opening the store and being able to wildly expand our product line it's been good for my head, my heart, and probably people around me.
So I want to get back to the store in a minute, but first let's take a little step back. And I'm curious, how did you end up being a manufacturer in a retail store in Detroit? What was that path?
Well, the company started completely and totally organically. Newsflash, I didn't start out to have a necktie company. That was a total random accident, happy accident. I had started off doing costume design, and I needed to print some yardage of fabric. And I had just recently learned how to screen print. I didn't go to school for it. I learned on my friend's kitchen table.
What did you go to school for?
I have 2 degrees in sculpture. And, I had a little bit of a panic because the thought of being in academia just didn't interest me. So that took out teaching. I like to do workshops and hands-on things, but to show up for work in a class every day, I'm like, yeah, it's not doing it. And I was a little salty at the time on gallery work just because of the whole patron system. I just the things that I was trained to do, I'm like, ruh-roh. So I better figure this out. And I have been doing a lot of web development, but my passion was really still for making things, making tangible objects. And I always loved fashion. And I made a lot of my own clothes because champagne taste, beer budget. I did not grow up wealthy. And, my mom, and I was a strange little scrawny child, and my mom had to make a lot of my own clothes because I couldn't fit in them, and my mom could sew, and so she made my clothes. So I grew up around making clothing, or, at least having someone who could make it for me. I loved making clothing and accessories, but the kinds of things that I was making just wasn't sustainable financially. So I learned printing, and, it takes a lot less time to print a tie or a t-shirt than it does to sew this really insane garment for like 500 hours and then get $100 for it. And, it's just not sustainable. So yeah, started printing, totally fell in love with it. And I printed a necktie, and this was in like 2005, and Make Magazine blog picked it up, and then another blog picked it up, and I just was getting emails. Where can I get that? Where can I get that? I'm like, hold on. PayPal cart went up in a couple hours, and then a year later, quit all my other jobs and started doing this full time.
Amazing.
No business plan, no investors. To date, I still don't have a credit card.
What?
I only spend what I can. I started off with one silk screen, and I just tiled a whole bunch of images on it, and just didn't take on any debt because I didn't have any money to start, and just kind of made it work.
Are you still in your studio apartment? Studio upstairs.
I still live in my studio. Yeah. Hopefully, in a couple year plan, we'll be able to change that a little bit, because the power washer morning till night it's getting a little old.
Break it down for me. You started just doing some, just to eat. You're just doing some screen prints and explored it. What were the steps to go from someone who's doing crafts to you became an Etsy seller too, right? Like, what are some of those steps to get to where you are today?
I can tell you what my steps are, but I'm not sure if it would be the same to start out now. I feel very fortunate that I was an early adopter for a lot of things. I was fortunate that I know a bit about web development, and I was able to, without anyone else's help, put up a simple site for my stuff, PayPal cart, whatever. We've since upgraded our site substantially since then, but I've been on Etsy for 10 years, and, our site predated Etsy existing, but they were a really wonderful platform just as a go-to place for quality handmade objects. I have a little fear that it's not going to stay like that, just because all things change. Right now, I feel like the site is just polluted with copycats and imports, and therefore we've put a little bit more energy into developing our own site, more robust.
How did you start the e-commerce site? What are the pieces to making that work?
So I started the e-commerce site very simply. At that time, I only had, the variants were very few, because, I only had like 6, 8, 10 designs, and then I only had 6, 8, 10 colors. And now the orderable combinations, including, all of the custom work, again, we'll get back to the chartreuse and orange. I think we are well over 3 million possible combinations. So, again, we are a absolute nightmare if you're an engineer. We make engineers cry. But right now we have over 1,300 products just on our Etsy page alone.
So you mainly focus on Etsy? Or
No, no. I'd say equal. Our Etsy page is kind of up and running on its own. We keep listing new products, and then I kind of call off ones that aren't really doing much of anything. But as soon as I make a new design, new color, we do it on tandem. So I put it up on our main site, and then I put it up on the Etsy page.
And what tools do you use for e-commerce, your backend?
We're on Shopify now, and we have been probably for about 3 years. Before that, 100% hand coded.
Whoa,
that's another control freak thing that needed to die. We switched way too late. It was miserable to update those pages by hand, but I think we had a pretty darn good site considering. But it was just the time and energy and stress to keep all that working. And we were still running a site 3 years ago based on junky code I had written in 2000. But what was good about that is we didn't adopt any other fads, and everything still worked. So no Flash, back when that was a thing. So, we didn't have to ditch any of that because never had it.
Tell me about Detroit. How did you end up there?
So Detroit was another happy accident. I grew up in Connecticut, like about 50 minutes out of Grand Central. And then I went to Boston University for undergrad. And then I went to Cranbrook Academy of Art for graduate school. So I applied completely cold right out of undergrad, thinking like, oh, whatever. I'm like Saarinen and Eames and stuff went here, great design school. They're not going to take me. Got the letter and like, oh crap, I guess I'm moving to Detroit. Okay.
And what year was that?
That was in 99.
Wow, that was an interesting time.
Yeah, so Detroit was, Detroit is always cool, but nobody knew that Detroit was cool in 99. All my friends on the East Coast thought that I had like absolutely lost my marbles. They're like, you're moving where? Like, what are you doing? You wanted to be an artist in New York. Well, you're moving to Detroit. Okay. See you later. We're not visiting you. No one can visit me. But now everybody wants to come visit me because Detroit's got a lot going on. It's a very interesting place for artists, and at the same time, it's becoming a really bad place for artists.
Tell me more about that.
Man, the change is moving really quickly, and artists are being pushed out of their spaces, and it's like we've stuck it out for so long, and now, yeah, it's.
So you bought property.
I did. Now it's not something that we're currently using for our studio, but I did invest in, putting our flag in the ground for Detroit because I'm scared of how things are changing. I have the best landlord situation. I think I have the only nice, caring, cool, wonderful landlord in the world. And that's been a big boon to our business, just that I haven't had a terrible landlord. I've just seen so many people have to uproot their businesses, their lives, and scramble and change spaces. And when you're manufacturing and when you're making things, there's very specific space requirements as to what you're doing. Like my water source is so important to what we're doing. And, if I don't have it's pretty intense washout rooms to wash out all the, for a water-based screen printing shop, I can't go to a dry studio. It's just, I can't, oh, well, go make it over there, and set back up. Like it would take months and months and months of build out. We've done all that build out ourselves. And to do that again, like there's no way that business interruption, that would be horrific. But that being said, even though I have a lease and I do have the most amazing landlord in the world, if he's listening, hi. But I can't be, there's no guarantees in life. If that situation were to ever change, I have to have a backup plan. And I don't want to leave Detroit, and I don't want to go into the suburbs. I've been downtown since I started my business, and, I don't want to get pushed out to somewhere else.
How have the rents and the property values changed since you've been there?
Oh, it's absolute cuckoo birds. Now, to be fair, it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't viable to have rents being so cheap in the city center.
What's a typical rent? What was a typical rent?
Oh, you could get a place for $400 or $500. It was,
wow.
Yeah, they're somewhere in the middle. But now it's like $3 or $5,000. It's
What?
getting to like New York and San Francisco prices in some places, and people are
wow.
paying them. You get some trustafarians in there, and they pay it. And then if one landlord sees someone paying that, then they drag. And it's just, yeah, it's kind of sad because we stuck it out, and the neighborhoods are still a disaster. The schools are a disaster. The infrastructure is a disaster. But you've got a lot of cute coffee shops and cute restaurants and people willing to pay stupid money. And the people who have sustained the place and kept the lights on are now getting ousted out.
What's the community like? What was it like? So tell me that, you've been through a couple downturns, right? So how is
2008 was bad. 2008 was really, really bad.
2000 was probably not
2000, well, I was just getting out of school then. So I was very new then. So that was just kind of my intro to the space. But it was a little desolate. There's always been a thriving, I don't want to disparage the city at all and saying, oh, it wasn't cool. Yeah, it was cool. There was like the music and the art that has come out of Detroit has never not been world class.
What are some of your favorite kind of?
Oh, I live. We call our street Techno Boulevard. I didn't come up with that. Derek May, Kevin Saunders. Derek May is still my neighbor. Techno legends. We hang. We BS. We have coffee. We talk about politics. The community is amazing. But, back 20 years ago, it was was a little more quiet. You know, it was more underground. It was also a lot more real. There's investment, and, you know, I feel like a lot of the new people coming in aren't respectful to people in the neighborhoods and the people who have stuck it out for a long time. So there's a little bit of friction. On the same token, it's nice to see things happen, but I'm a little scared for people getting pushed out and people not respecting the African American community, and, you know, just people who have been there for a long time and they have a story, and it's not a blank slate, blank canvas, whatever you want to call it. It's not. It's a very rich, culturally important canvas, and you can't whitewash over that. We're not unique. I mean, it's happening in a lot of cities, especially as young people want to live in cities. But where we do have an advantage in Detroit, there is a lot of space, but it's a problem.
So if somebody were to go visit Detroit and wanted to kind of get a sense of what's going on, what are the 3 places you'd recommend that they go?
Oh man, that's a rough question. But Eastern Market area for sure. You know, it's the nation's oldest, longest, largest, something, lots of superlatives, running farmers market. So the farmers market is open on Sunday or Saturday, and then in the nicer months, they do a Sunday weekend market where they have a lot more artisan-y, crafty stuff. But it's a walkable area. We've got a lot of great neighbors, and we are just on the south border of Eastern Market, and that's where the new store is. There's a coffee shop and performance space. There's a gallery. There's some restaurant opening right next to me, which I'm really excited about. And I'm going to have to go to the gym more. So it's up and coming. And then there's a great meat market, that's been there for 100 years. That's right across the street from me. So we can't forget about the guys that have been there for a long time. There's a candle shop that's been there also for 100 years. So it's nice to see these older, long-established businesses. Also, I feel like us new guys get to lift them up a little bit too, because there's new clientele coming to visit them.
It is a really neat city, definitely. You're listening to The Art of Manufacturing. Join the conversation on social at We Make It in LA and our Facebook group, makeitinla.org/community. We'll be right back after this break. This episode is supported by CodyPie, a company that will work with you to turbocharge your awesome idea into an awesome software product or website. I'm a big fan because not only has their team helped the art of manufacturing, they support homeless youth and people with mental health challenges with both code and a safe space to learn. For a free consultation, email david@codypie.com and refer to the Art of Manufacturing, or visit makeitinla.org/pie. We're speaking with Bethany Shorb, who's trying her hand at expanding from manufacturer to retailer in the heart of Detroit. Let's go back to the retail store.
Okay.
And tell me about opening the store, what that process was like, has been like. You just opened in November, right?
We just opened in November, and I am maybe a little obsessed with keeping on schedule and being on time. And I said I was going to open in November before the holiday season. And we only got the keys to the place about 3-4 weeks before that. And,
oh, my God.
I refuse to change that opening date because, to be honest, in retail, I mean, you make the vast majority of what you're going to do for the year in that November and December time period, because that's when people gift things. So we had to open in November. I think I have a little PTSD from that experience. Yeah, opening up gutting an establishment. And gutting, I'm talking gutting. Like, we went down to the block walls. We got the animal nests out of the walls. That was a bad day.
What kind of animals?
Oh, all of them. Things that peed and pooped and did gross animal things. Yeah, there's probably squirrels and rats' nests, and I think there was mousy CentCom for the entire building was in this wall. Good thing is we haven't had any pests since, so I think we disturbed their central command system. We had a little infrastructure work to do, like all of it. The floors were nice.
3 weeks?
3 weeks, and it was myself and one handyman and my husband. And we're still married. Yeah, I owe him a lot for for making the store happen. Yeah, it was not reasonable, rational, or recommended.
So what were the biggest surprises, things that you just didn't even anticipate you needed to think about?
The ceiling.
What?
Yeah, there's this plaster ceiling, and there were these 2x4s strung across it, and there was lights coming down from them. So we figured someone did a little, there I fixed it, and, hung the pendant lights from these 2x4s. It was like this kind of ye olde lodgy look, which I wasn't feeling. So we'll rip those down. Oh, they were holding the ceiling up. So all of a sudden I come upstairs like, honey, can I show you something? I need your executive decision on this. I'm like, oh no. So they wanted to reveal this beautiful old wood timber ceiling. Like, look at how beautiful. I'm like, why are we seeing this? Oh no. So the ceiling came down. Because though somebody had the brilliant idea in the 70s or something to put wet plaster over 2 thicknesses of drywall. You don't do that. So I guess it got a little heavy and it started sagging. So they just nailed it, like put 2x4s in it to stick it up there. So we did not know that wasn't original. So that all had to come down. In the long view of things, it was great because had we gone to then put our own lighting up, it would have come down on all the stuff. And we would have.
Better to know sooner than later.
Yeah. There was, a couple thousand pounds of concrete and plaster and drywall and what have you on the sales floor 10 days before opening. And when we opened, we had this grand opening party scheduled in print all over. Got to do it. An hour before the grand opening party, there was not one piece of product on the floor yet. So we had everything staged, and we're still like trying to get anchors for these shelves into the wall. They're not staying, and it was like we hadn't slept in days, and everyone was ready to murder each other. And they had staged everything upstairs, and it was like 20 people descending on like just putting all the product down moments before doors opened. It was...
Wait, didn't we tell you on the invitation that it's a work party? We didn't say party. It's a work party.
Work party. Yeah, you didn't know you're helping putting all this stuff out, right? Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, you've really created a community of people that are huge fans of what you do. And so how have you developed that? What are some of those approaches?
Being somewhere where it's, we're not in a mall, so we're not going to get, or there's not like a ton of other little stores. I mean, we have some local other surrounding people, but we're not a destination. So we've really had to work to activate the space. So we have a really great sound system and we've got turntables. So we're having DJs in on Saturdays and we're doing classes and workshops on, days that we're not open and, just trying to find creative ways to get bodies in the store and just to introduce them to what we're doing. Educate people, educate our fans and followers and customers that, we're doing more than just weirdo ties. And not that there's anything wrong with weirdo ties, but now you can have weirdo shirts and weirdo pillows and a little reboot of what we've done for the last decade.
So what are some of the things you've learned through opening the store?
Well, I've learned a lot of what not to do.
Yeah.
But I've also learned what's been really, really important for me as a business owner and as a supplier. We've sold our ties and scarves to, over the decade, over 450 boutiques and museum stores.
Wow.
So we're also a wholesale supplier. So we've got that division, and opening a retail store and stocking other people's wares, I'm on the other end of it. And we've had some vendors, and this goes for, supply material and stuff that we order in to make our things, but I'm ordering finished goods from people and companies that I've admired for a long time. And the level of ball dropping on deadlines and order fulfillment dates and just like bad customer service. And I'm seeing that end of it. I'm like, man, I hope we've never done that to anyone. It stinks. So, it's really taught me to be compassionate to, what stores deadlines need. And, we'll hear from a store that's like, we're opening on Saturday, we're having this big grand opening party, and it seems like they're running around with chickens with our heads. Like, well, guess what? That's what it's like opening a store. And, just we have a local soap company that we love. And they are so on it as far as deliveries and having what they say they have. And I went with that company because they answered an email on Saturday afternoon. They were the first pig to the trough. And,
Amazing.
and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, we don't answer our wholesale stuff usually on the weekend. Like, we got to change that. So there's a lot of learning that's gone in being on the other end of product intake for a store.
So, first lesson learned as a supplier, just be on it and be responsive because that may be your one way of getting in.
Yeah, I mean, we had this thought of, we make this boutique handmade product. People can wait, wait. No waiting.
You have 20 people working for you now?
I do.
That's amazing. So what do they do?
We do everything in-house. So many people who have online businesses, not only do they not make the stuff, they don't even ship the stuff. It's a lot of drop shipping stuff from overseas. I mean, I can't count how many times I've just like bought something off Amazon and I'm like, where's my stuff? And I'm like, oh, it's because it's coming from China. So that's not cool. I mean, I guess it's okay, but it is what it is. But we don't want to be that. We don't want to make people wait around. So we do everything in-house. We obviously make all the things. So we screen print everything. I still do every single design. That's something I'm not giving up on the control freak part. So all the designs, all the printing, we make our own screens. I've got very skilled people who assist with making the screens, very skilled people who assist with the printing. I've got great customer service people. I'm not good at that. That is what gets my blood pressure up more than anything is when somebody's upset about something. So I've got people to help put out fires if fires erupt. But yeah, we have most of our customers are really rads and they don't, they're not mean. So.
And where are they? Because you live in your studio. It's a nice space, but it's not huge.
It's not huge. We have a platform corner. All of my equipment has kicked me out. I used to have a living room, but now that's a white seamless backdrop. And I used to have an office area, and now that is 2 4-foot wide dye sublimation printers, another 2-foot wide transparency printer, a couple other printers as parts for those printers. Yeah, so it is complete. All my stuff the business has kicked me out. But we have a bed on a platform.
And is your store near your studio?
The store is right below my studio. Oh, so I swore over and over. I'm like, I don't want a retail store. I don't want to be chained to a physical location. I'm a cat in the internet. And I'm like completely happy existing in the internet only. But then I heard that they're starting to develop the ground floor spaces to be retail again. And it's the first time of them being true retail spaces since the riots in the late 60s.
Amazing.
So when I heard that was happening, I'm like, man, I can't not do this. It's super cool that we just bring the stuff downstairs.
You somehow got it online in 3 weeks, which is insane. You got it up and running before the holidays. How did the holidays go?
Holidays were great. And even the week, it totally surprised me, the week after the holiday was really, really fun because a lot of people from Detroit have... A lot of artists and musicians, they've moved to LA, they've moved to New York, and they came back home for Christmas. So then they want to visit the weird techno store. And so yeah, we had all these longtime visitors coming back. So it was very family reunion-ish. It was, most people say, oh, the week after Christmas, it's the absolute worst in retail. No, it was really fun. So we had lots of people checking it out. Yeah, holidays were good.
Everything's peachy keen?
Not peachy keen right now. No, we've got some pretty serious infrastructure problems going on right now. It's getting really granular for people who aren't in Detroit listening, but we have this. Detroit's very steampunk. We have a steam loop system.
Literally steampunk.
Really literally, figuratively, all that. There's a massive central boiler which serves steam up through this underground piping to a lot of the municipal buildings.
That's crazy.
Yeah, especially when there's huge problems with the water main system and those water mains crack and leak and it puts cold, icy water onto hot steam pipes and we have steam eruptions in the street and people get mowed over and killed in front of my store. Yeah, so
Wait, what people?
3 people have died on the street in front of my location over the years because it is like a wall of fog, wall of steam. You can't see if someone's crossing the street. So it's terrible. I mean, it's not just that it's a loss of business, there's a loss of life, and every water department is blaming this company that it's a privately owned company that owns this steam, and it's such a hot mess.
Oh my God.
It's terrible. So it's not the most welcoming, we'll say, welcoming place to have your store yellow caution taped off and having all the, 2 or 3 lanes blocked off with, steam trucks. And, there's steam in front of the store. You can't even see my neon sign that's on. And I just got a call this morning saying that, we're shut. I have a water-based screen printing shop that there's doing an emergency water shut-off for 5 hours. Because it's happening. I thought it was sorted, and it's happening again. So that's been a huge frustration. Just basic infrastructure going absolutely haywire.
Oh my gosh.
So
where do you see Detroit going from here? Because it seems like it's had this renaissance on the surface. A lot of people are rushing over there. Still has all these infrastructural problems.
it's a little rotten to the core and really pretty on the outside. It's very problematic. I hope my fair city can get over some of these problems. I don't know how to fix it. I know how to open a cute store. Is that helping anything? I don't know. Probably not. But I'm giving some pretty cool jobs to people. So I hope I'm helping. I don't feel like I'm doing enough, but
you clearly love the city. And
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the freedom that it's afforded. You know, I wanted to go back to one of the coasts, but I'm glad I didn't because it worked out all right.
And now you get to spend some time in LA too. So
I
where are you in
do.
LA?
So my wonderful husband took this really sweet job out here. Yeah, I'm really proud of the total crazy move that he's made after changing jobs of his own choice after 20 years. And I get to travel with him. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's everyone's really freaking out. They're like, what are you going to do? You're leaving your business for, a week or 2 weeks at a time. Like, how can you run it? Like, it's been such a welcome brain break to just leave the city a little bit and then come back to it. And I get to, I don't know, really relish how cool it is there and why I love it so much. Sometimes you have to get away a little bit to realize like why you love being there. But being based in California a little bit it's helped me compartmentalize my tasks and what I need to do. So when I'm in Detroit, I'm more involved in the production and prototyping and making things. And, we also make jewelry now too. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, just because I needed something else to do. So it's just, I'm involved in making a lot of the physical things that are in the stores. So I go back to Detroit and make. And then when I'm do all the product photography, and then when I'm back here, I receive some of the edits, do some of them on my own, stick my face in the computer and get more of the products online.
And then you get that feeling of freedom and not being tied down at the same
Yeah.
time. So you get the best of both worlds.
But it's a little bit of like when I'm in Detroit, then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I feel like doing computer stuff. And then when I'm out here, I'm like, oh, I want to make things. Like, no, can't do that. So I just think it's been a good challenge and discipline of, no, you need to do this now.
Speaking of travel and going to different places, this was your first year at Burning Man, right?
It was.
How did you enjoy it? And thank you for trying to come find me at the airport. Sorry that we didn't connect.
That's okay. Well, we will do this next year.
If it's meant to be, it'll happen. Yeah, how was it?
Oh man, it was. I went having no expectations. I got there. I'm thinking, wait a minute, what? This is our burning moon. All right, so we honeymooned at Burning Man. I'm thinking like we could be on a beach in Fiji. What have we gotten ourselves into? And oh man, it was the best experience. It was so cool. I know it's a little trite saying that, coming into it a little bit late, but I just up until the last year or two, I was not able to travel. I was not able to leave my business for more than 3 days. And I was just the thought, I've been invited so many times and to join other people's camps and something I've been wanting to do for a decade, but I couldn't be off grid.
What's the kind of one thing that you took away with you that's the most memorable?
Just letting things happen. Because it was Burning Man's so goes against every type A control freak thing that I hold near and dear. And not having my phone work. And I know a lot of people's did, but I'm on Sprint and like it doesn't work out there. So just that forced disconnect was kind of really necessary. And so much visual overload and inspiration. And it started me on doing something that kind of looping back to the whole Cyberoptix name and like reflective light up stuff. And I'm like, well, how can I do this on ties? So right after Burning Man, I found this retro reflective printing ink, and we've done a couple corporate gifting orders, custom orders, and introduced products into our own line. I just did a project with watermelon water, doing these little reflective watermelons on ties for just a holiday gift that they gave. So that was really fun. And I don't think I would have, if I hadn't seen the need for you to light yourself up at night, I never would have searched for this, even though I worked with this stuff when I was doing costume design and kind of more club clothes. I didn't know that there was a water-based product on the market. I used to sew in the 3M reflective tape and all that stuff, but it had just really recently been released, and we're having a ball with it in the studio. And it's so fun. It's like the photos, the selfie destroyer, because when you've got this reflective, it blacks out your face, and all you see is this like super crazy white bright lit pattern. And for people who aren't familiar with it, it's like the reflective stuff that you'll see on gym clothes and
stop signs,
running shoes, that it has a pretty intense candle power that it reflects back. So if you put a flash on the camera and you've got this reflective circuit board tie, like, you ain't seeing much else. It's kind of great. So it's fun to punk people.
I love to ask people to tell me about your 16-year-old self. What was she like? What would she think about you now?
Oh man, my 16-year-old self will think that I've got a lot better hair.
You do have awesome hair.
No, I was always trying to sneak in little colors under my parents' rule at that point, and that's a long time ago. I guess I'm a little old for having this hair, but I don't care. I'm 41 and Mohawk proud. I don't know. I always knew that I wanted to be working in the arts. I always knew. I didn't know exactly. I obviously didn't always dream of having a necktie company. But
where'd you live?
I grew up in Connecticut, Fairfield, Connecticut. A lot of people are a little surprised about that because they think all Connecticut is country clubs and little white tennis outfits, and I don't really fit that aesthetic.
Did you ever wear a white tennis outfit?
No.
You
know what I did? I did wear a Catholic schoolgirl outfit for 9 years. Yeah, so that was something.
So now I see the picture. Then a little rebellion, maybe.
I'll see if I can send a photo for your.
We will post that.
Okay,
that's awesome. And were you a nerd?
I was a nerd. I was a pretty intense nerd.
When did you start DJing?
I actually started DJing not that long after moving to Detroit. I had played in some noise bands. I really love circuit bending, and circuit bending is the art science nerd of reworking old Casio keyboards, speak and spells, just any kind of analog junk store kid's toy, and kind of warping the sound and putting potentiometers and pedals and making it say all kinds of weird stuff, and making it loop and repeat and bending the pitch, and it was just homemade instruments. It's really fun to make, take a $5 keyboard that you can find in a thrift store and just make it do something really cool. It's very fulfilling to be able to make something and make your own sounds.
Clearly, you're a maker at heart.
I wish I had still time to do more of that stuff. I miss it. I really do.
So I ask everybody 3 questions. What does success look like in the next couple of years for you?
Well, I'd love to see what the internet throws at me, because I've put so much time and energy into this internet division that's been, the last 11 years. I want this store to be a destination. I want it to be a fun place where people can, listen to music, find cute, cheeky gifts. I want it to be boutique shopping should be enjoyable, not stuffy and pretentious. You shouldn't be afraid to go in there. It shouldn't be unobtainium expensive. Like I love curating in really fun, weird things that make people laugh and smile. We have a lot of things with dirty words. Dirty words are funny. Butts are funny. So, people come in and, I'm sure someone's like not going to be happy about a couple of things that are in there, but they're funny. We need a little, life's really serious right now. There's a lot of things going on politically that are super heavy and like, I don't know. I like to see the store as being somewhere you can at least get a good laugh in.
I like that. What's keeping you up at night right now?
The steam problem. It's just the infrastructure, and I took on a lot. I put a lot of capital into the store, and I do worry that maybe people don't think everything's as cute and weird and has the same sense of humor that we have, and maybe it won't catch on. But I'm trying not to worry about that.
So what have you invested and how is it just all your money?
Yeah.
Wow. Can you share a little bit more about how much you've put into this?
A lot. No, I don't. I mean,
like put in context of.
Well, we did it, vast majority of it we did ourselves, so comparatively for how it looks, I guess we didn't spend all that much. When it's coming directly out of your bank account, it seems a little harsh, but when you do something yourself, there's a great reward just in your heart because you made it yourself, but also in your pocket because you didn't pay someone else that ended up screwing with you. So yeah, I've invested a lot just in also not just the physical upgrade of the store, the infrastructure, but increasing all the product offerings. This is just a lot of warehousing, and it's a lot of things that are waiting to be printed on, sitting there. So our model, which was really successful for a long time, was everything is print to order. So we get that order in from the internet, we print it and then ship it. We don't have it sitting there. And that's not going to delay it anymore because we print it that day and then we ship it. We had comparatively pretty low overhead because we didn't, I'm going to print, I need to print 100 fuchsia ties with poppies on them. Well, what if they don't sell? Well, then you're stuck with 99 fuchsia ties with poppies on them. Well, we didn't do that. If someone wants a fuchsia tie with poppy on it, well, we print you one. So we're only warehousing those blanks. Now for a store, you can't just have an internet kiosk there like, okay, we'll pick what you want and you pick it up tomorrow. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. So this has been my first foray into, carrying printed inventory. And I've had a couple of things that I thought were really, really rad. And like, apparently someone else doesn't. So yeah, that's been I know it's not a new problem. that's kind of life, but it's new to me.
What else? What else would you advise to an entrepreneur?
CPA. Do not do your own taxes. Don't think it's going to be okay because it won't. Get somebody that understands the financial stuff because if you're an artist or designer, you probably hate doing it. I hate doing it, and it's caused a little bit of problems. So we're getting our financial house in order, and it's been a little prickly. So my advice would be get someone to do the crap you don't want to do because they're probably way better at it than you. And my biggest piece of advice is pick your DIY battles. Do it yourself, but there's other people who who are really good and actually enjoy doing the things that you might not want to do. Let them do it. Hire them. Employ people, especially employ people to do the things that you don't want to do so you can do the things that you're good at and you enjoy doing. And you will serve your customers better. You will grow your business better if you can get that brain clutter off your brain box. And I just like to tell people, someone that might be young and in school and, wanting to apprentice at a shop or a workshop that's making things, that your expectations have to be on planet Earth and not that you're, interning or in school thinking that you're going to be like creatively directing the company. No, you're going to be washing screens. It's not all fun. And the vast majority of my day is spent doing not fun things. And that's not, not just the icky business stuff, but it's a lot of repetitive rote work. and it's necessary. And I fear that people just want to be free and be creative. And like, that's lovely, but you got to do the hard work too. And that enables you to be free and be creative. That keeps me up a little bit at night too, that people, I feel, are a little remiss in wanting to work hard because they want to follow their passion. Yeah, that's great. Follow that passion, but you got to work hard to get there. And it might not be fun.
Has that affected your ability to hire good people?
Yeah, it has. It's hard. There was one person that, no, there's more than one person. We've had it. And I'm really glad that they made that decision in the first day. We've had people that wanted to, like, I want to work in a creative studio. This is going to be so fun. And they get like through a 3-hour shift. They're like, yeah, bye.
Oh my God. How are they going to survive life?
Well, maybe not doing physical work. It's hard. It's hard work.
Yeah.
It's hard. It can be hot or cold or messy, depending on the season. I'm a little scared of people not wanting to do hard work, but...
So how do you now screen people? Oh, no pun intended.
I see what you did there.
Sorry. So that you don't have to go through that wasted hire.
Tom Sachs made a video about studio assistant life. And I was almost in tears when I saw this video. And it's an art piece, but it's not an art piece. It's a companion art piece to art making. And it's about how to be a studio assistant. And it's his training video for studio assistants. And I didn't think anyone else on planet Earth did what we did. And his studio looks like my studio. They even have a studio cat. And it's 10 bullet points. And they actually use bullets. It's a great video. Please watch this video.
We're going to put that on show notes to make sure.
And I haven't told my studio this yet. I told like one guy in there, this is going to be our pre-screening. So you're going to watch this video, and based on like, if you think this is like funny and awesome, then you're probably going to get along. If you think this is like completely draconian and not what I want to get myself into, then better that you know this now.
And it's nice. You don't even have to create that video.
Yeah, I don't. I'm like, it's all, there's a couple things I'd adjust, but not really. I mean, it's uncanny. It was freaky. So if you want an extra look into our studio, check out this Tom Sachs video. But I think that's been an interesting journey, and making this company and this store and this art studio, this design studio of, anybody, all these new hires that we have.
You make them work for you for a day before you hire them.
Well, we do actually that because you apprentice, you start by being a screenrunner, which is basically, it's probably one of the most important jobs because we have to pass off the screen to be washed between every single thing that we make. So if the printer had to do that, it would just be exponentially more time. And I developed this process of having a screen washer, we call them screenrunners, because I broke my foot and I couldn't do it. And this is when I was still doing all of the printing myself, and I'm there on crutches, and I'm like, how am I going to go across this 4,000 square foot studio? Because of course the sink is on the opposite side of where I am. It was probably one of my first hires. So I had to hire this girl to stand behind me and take the screen to the sink, which seemed like completely inane at the time. But then I realized I am so much more productive with a broken foot than I was without. So a lot of these happy accidents really inform the process.
Where can people find you?
Cyberoptix.com. And
Spell
that's
that.
CYBEROPTIX.com. And for the store, which we also have select Cyberoptix things in there as well, that's a little easier, a little less of a mouthful. It's welldonegoods.com. And that's a play on steak. So that branch was started by the little steak marker flag. That's, rare, medium, well done. So it's, we're rare finds that are well done.
Awesome. And are you on social media?
Yep. Cyberoptix on all of the social channels and Well Done Goods.
Nice. You grabbed them.
I did. Very proud of that.
It is so awesome to have you. And what a pleasure. I'm so glad you're here in LA part of the time, and the fact that we could connect again and hear both about what you're doing in Detroit, everything from the actual manufacturing piece to it, and the retail store too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it helps me appreciate Detroit so much more, and just by being able to get away a little bit. And, now I really getting to appreciate all the things that I can find in LA for my store and bring them back. So it's been a win.
If somebody has something they want your store to be featuring,
I take ideas all the time. I'm not the sole decider. I mean, I am, but
okay. So if you have a cool product,
I want to see it. I want to see
Bethany.
it, especially if you don't have a lot of representation yet and you're making something cool. I want to see it.
Nice. Great seeing you.
Great seeing you as well.
Thanks.
I think the 3 most interesting lessons I learned today were, first, the key to scaling a successful business is letting go. It's so hard when you're a perfectionist, but you can't grow when you're still mixing your own dyes and hand coding your HTML. For someone like me, it's reassuring to hear I'm not alone feeling like a control freak sometimes. But she finally allows herself to delegate now that she's learned to compartmentalize her work and communicate expectations. She even manages to spend half her time in LA and not freak out. By the way, we're including a link to Tom Sachs' 10 Bullets video in the show notes. Second, as a brand, you have to be on it to get and maintain new business. Now that Bethany is on the other side of the table as a retailer, she appreciates how important it is to deliver when promised. Seems obvious, but she's shocked at how many vendors don't. Hustle or die, she picked one of her vendors because they were the first to answer her email on a Saturday. And finally, Bethany clearly has a great love for Detroit, but it's so frustrating that once again, according to her, the artists have added the value and then the newcomers are exploiting that value and pushing out those who make the area as vibrant as it is. I've seen this over and over again in Chelsea, New York, and in Berlin, and in Venice, California. And I have to think that there's a land use policy or even a business strategy for real estate developers that harnesses the value of creatives and enables them to continue to contribute even after the area has been revitalized. Any ideas? Have you seen this problem solved somewhere? I'd love to hear about it. Send a note via Twitter at WeMakeItInLA. Time to wrap it up for The Art of Manufacturing. Tune in next Thursday when we meet Liddy Matthew, co-founder of the largest organic spirits company in the world.
Visit makeitinla.org for show notes and to stay in the loop about events, news, and resources. To chat with other like-minded manufacturing entrepreneurs, join our Facebook discussion group at makeitinla.org/community. Never miss an episode. Subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Music, or your favorite player. And if you like the show, do us a big favor and leave us a review. Or send us a message with feedback and ideas on Twitter at WeMakeItInLA. This podcast is produced by At Large and Dangerous in collaboration with the Make It in LA initiative and other partners. A big shout out to Peter Brandenburg, the producer and audio engineer, and our content coordinator, Heidi Carrion. This episode was recorded at the Reef in downtown Los Angeles. Thanks for listening to The Art of Manufacturing. I'm Z Holly, and remember, don't just make it, make it.